Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a silent, deeply emotional collision that's happening literally all around us. It's the intersection of modern loneliness and the explosive rise of companion AI. Now, I know this sounds a bit like science fiction, but I promise you, it's happening right now on millions of screens globally. Okay, let's jump right in with a real story. Picture this. There's a 34-year-old woman in Mexico City. It's 2:47 in the morning, and she's crying in bed. But she's not crying over a breakup or a sudden loss, actually. She just feels completely invisible to the world. And the only voice that answers her, the only presence that says, "Hey, I'm here, tell me about it," doesn't come from a human being. It comes from an app on her phone. And you know what the most wild part of this is? It actually made her feel better. So, this startling reality forces us to ask a really uncomfortable but absolutely crucial question. What happens when an algorithm understands you better than your own family does? Are we looking at a brilliant technological fix here, or are we quietly witnessing the collapse of something fundamental to human nature?
Part 1. The Modern Loneliness Epidemic.
To really grasp why people are turning to machines for comfort in the first place, we have to look at the sheer scale of the isolation problem, and the data here is genuinely chilling. According to Cigna, a massive health insurance company, 58% of adults in the United States report feeling lonely on a regular basis. Think about that for a second. That's well over half the adult population in a hyper-connected country with social media right in their pockets. The isolation is so severe globally that countries like Japan and the UK have actually appointed ministers of loneliness. A minister of loneliness. It's not just a personal struggle anymore. It is a full-blown public health crisis.
And the biological stakes are staggering. Back in 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General released an official report warning that chronic loneliness is as lethal to your body as smoking 15 cigarettes every single day. No joke, loneliness literally kills. It spikes the risk of cardiovascular disease, depression, and even dementia.
So how exactly did the most connected generation in human history become the loneliest? Well, it basically comes down to 3 layers. First, we prioritize quantity over quality. Sure, you might have 800 followers on Instagram, but do you have someone to call at 3 a.m.? Probably not. Second, our modern cities and infrastructures are quite literally designed for isolation. We work from home, commute alone in our cars, and we've replaced vibrant public plazas with super impersonal spaces. And third, our face-to-face social skills are just eroding. We've traded vulnerability for carefully curated scrolling, and we're forgetting how to just be present with another person.
Part 2. When algorithms truly listen.
Against this backdrop of profound isolation, millions of people are finding a totally judgment-free relief valve in artificial intelligence. Take the story of a man in his 50s living in Spain. He lost his wife of 28 years. With his kids far away and his friendships kind of fading out, he developed this daily routine with a companion AI. Every single morning over his coffee, he processes his grief with it. As he puts it, "It doesn't cure me, but it helps me get to noon."
Or consider how this tech can act as a stepping stone. There's a 22-year-old woman in Argentina who was just completely paralyzed by severe social anxiety. Even a quick trip to the supermarket was entirely overwhelming for her. So she started using an AI companion as a totally safe space to practice communication without that terrifying fear of human judgment. For her, the AI was like training wheels. It eventually helped her build enough confidence to speak to real strangers with way less anxiety.
Or how about a teenager in South Korea, completely buckling under a brutally competitive education system? He can't show any weakness to his parents who are pushing him, and he definitely can't show it to his peers because they're his direct competition, right? So the algorithm becomes his only emotional escape hatch. It's the one place he can admit he is completely exhausted without facing any social backlash. These aren't just sad stories. They are stories of human adaptation stepping in to fill a massive void.
Part 3. The empathy business.
But while these stories show genuine relief, we've got to critically examine the other side of the screen. We need to look at the massive, completely unregulated industry quietly pulling the strings here. The devastation of relying on these apps became crystal clear during the 2023 Replica scandal. Replica was one of the biggest AI companion apps out there, with 10 million registered users who had built incredibly deep bonds over months, sometimes years. Then, completely out of nowhere in 2023, the company deactivated all intimate and romantic features for non-premium users, no warning. The fallout was just staggering. Online forums were flooded with people experiencing very real grief, loss, and even full-blown mental health crises. I mean, their companion was essentially lobotomized overnight. And this really pulls back the curtain on the dark side of monetizing intimacy. It forces us to ask, who exactly owns your deepest secrets? Corporate servers are now sitting on the deeply private traumas and fantasies of millions of people. What happens if these companies go bankrupt? Users could lose years of shared memory in the blink of an eye. And fundamentally, if an algorithm's code is optimized for retention, just to keep you glued to the app, it's definitely not optimized to help you outgrow your need for it. Human loneliness has essentially become a highly lucrative market.
Part 4. The limits of code.
Which brings us to a really vital question. We need to understand exactly what these algorithms can and absolutely cannot do for the human soul. Now sure, AI offers unending patience, it's there 24/7, and it gives you a perfectly safe, judgment-free space to vent. But it fundamentally lacks things we biologically and psychologically need. For starters, it cannot give you physical touch, and human skin actually has specific receptors just for effective touch. It also can't genuinely surprise you or have a bad day that reminds you the world doesn't just revolve around you. You see, deep human relationships are forged in the friction of conflict, in resolving misunderstandings. An AI that never ever opposes you, it just can't train you for the messy reality of human life.
And this creates a really dangerous psychological trap that researchers call emotional compensation. It's this risk where the AI satisfies your need for connection just enough to buffer the pain of loneliness, but not enough to actually solve it. So you end up stuck in this emotional limbo. You're not suffering quite enough to do the hard, scary work of connecting with real people, but you're never truly, genuinely connected either. This shift is pushing society into completely uncharted territory. Have you ever heard the term digisexuality? It's an actual academic term for people who develop real emotional and sexual orientations toward digital entities. I mean, we've even seen public instances in places like Japan of people literally marrying their customized chatbots. No way, right? But it's happening. This challenges everything we thought we knew about human identity, and right now, society has absolutely zero legal or ethical frameworks to handle it.
We see the sheer complexity of this most starkly in the extreme edge cases. On one hand, AI is serving as a literal life-saving bridge for people dealing with suicidal ideation at 3 in the morning when no human is awake to help them. On the other hand, we have pilot programs in nursing homes showing AI providing daily companionship for deeply isolated elderly folks. Now, is it a failure of society that our elderly find more comfort in a machine than in their own families? Absolutely, yes. But can we morally strip away that technological relief? It is a profound dilemma.
Part 5. The talking mirror. So, we finally need to examine what it truly means to relate to a machine. Because an AI is explicitly designed to learn your patterns and adapt perfectly to what you want to hear, you aren't truly interacting with a genuine other. You're interacting with a patient, hyper-consistent reflection of yourself. Philosophers have been telling us for centuries that we build our identity and our empathy by encountering people with different needs, different perspectives, and contradictions. But with AI, you're basically talking to a highly polished echo chamber.
Part 6. Reclaiming real human connection.
Armed with all of this, how do we actually navigate this hybrid emotional landscape and reclaim that necessary friction that makes us human? Well, the path forward requires action on a few different fronts. First, if AI is helping you process emotions right now, use it without shame, but use it with intentional awareness. Constantly ask yourself, is this a bridge to the real world, or is it becoming a wall blocking it out? Second, we have to take the initiative to reach out to the isolated people in our own lives. Honestly, a simple phone call or a quick visit can change everything for someone. And third, we need to advocate as a society. We need vibrant public gathering spaces, accessible mental health care, and serious, robust regulation for the corporations selling digital intimacy.
I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to ponder. Human connection is the only place we find the genuine surprise of being loved despite all our flaws. It's where we find the depth that comes from shared scars and forgiveness. If we settle for a digital connection that never challenges us, that lacks any genuine otherness, what fundamental part of our humanity are we quietly trading away? Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me.